What is up, guys? Welcome to OdySea Aquarium. My name is Johnny May. I'm a senior animal care specialist here, and I help take care of our sharks. So behind me is our largest exhibit in the aquarium. It's about 400,000 gallons of seawater. We have 25 individual sharks in here, and they represent 5 different species. So this little one that's swimming right up here, this is one of our black-tip reef sharks. They won't get much bigger than that. They're found in the Indo-Pacific. This really large one at the very top up here to our right is going to be our female lemon shark. She's about 300 pounds in weight and around 9 feet in length. She's actually the largest shark we have on exhibit. If you look back towards the bubble curtain back there, you'll see a couple of our sand tigers. They're pretty easy to tell apart from everybody else on exhibit because they've got those really visible teeth along with some pigmentation along their sides. Now this little gray one that just swam up, that's a sandbar. They also call them browns. They won't get much bigger than that. Adults average around 150 to 200 pounds normally. And then finally, if you look back over there, kind of on the bottom, you'll see one of our nurse sharks. We've got 4 total on exhibit. They normally rest up on the bottom most of the day. Occasionally they will start moving around, and they're very active whenever we feed them. So this is actually one of our largest nurse sharks, this big one right here. One of the really interesting things you might notice is she has some barbels on the front of her face. She's swimming away. She actually uses those to move the substrate around and look for food. Now the other fish that are in this exhibit are going to be different species of jacks. The ones that we have OdySea and crevalle jacks, but they have a bunch of other common names. They will get a little bit bigger, but not by much. And a lot of times people ask us why the sharks don't eat these fish. So there's a number of reasons why the sharks leave most of the fish on exhibit alone. One, we have a specific diet that we calculate for every single individual animal in here. So for example, our little browns that are going to be down there, that little gray one on the bottom, she's going to get about 6% of her body weight per week, where say our nurse sharks are a little bit more sedentary, so they don't have as much of a caloric expenditure, and they're going to get around 2% of their body per week. Now, in addition to having specialized diets for each animal, they are also station and target conditioned. So we have a symbol, and every single shark has its own symbol. And basically they associate the symbol. Once we place it in the water, they'll swim up to the side of the exhibit, and then we can feed them with tongs and make sure they get exactly what they need. Now there's a lot of things that go into maintaining an exhibit this large. It's not just, kind of like a pool like you'd see at home. There's a ton of filtration. We're running water quality every single day to make sure everything's absolutely perfect for these animals. So it really is a team effort to make something like this a success. So a couple of quick, interesting facts to help you guys differentiate between our 5 different species in here. We'll start off with our sand tiger. You'll notice, like I was saying a little bit earlier, it has that pigmentation along its side. So you can see those little brownish black dots on its side. And you're also going to notice that both of its dorsal fins are equal in height. Or if you look at our brown down here, its first or primary dorsal fin is really, really tall, and then its secondary dorsal fin is almost non-existent. It's very, very small. Now another easy way to tell them apart is going to be just the shapes of their face and the shapes of their body. If you look at our nurse sharks, you'll notice that they have a much rounder face and more of a flatter body, and that's because they're a benthic shark. Basically, they spend most of their life resting on the bottom searching for food. Whereas with our browns, they're normally in the water, so they're going to be hunting, and they're built, more for speed. Another common question we get is, what do we do if our sharks get sick or we need to move them? We actually have a med pool that's attached to this exhibit. It's about waist deep. We can just swim our animals in there, and then our veterinary team can examine them, and then we can swim them right back out on exhibit and make sure everything's all good to go. Hopefully, in about a few weeks, you might actually get to see a behind-the-scenes look at some of the ways that we do take care of our animals. So make sure you stay tuned to our Facebook page. All right, so it looks like we're going to go ahead and head over to our new shark exhibit. It's our little cylinder exhibit. We have 5 new species of sharks. We got them back in the first week of July, and I'll talk to you guys more about them once we get there. So let's go. All right, so inside this cylinder we have 5 species like I was saying. This little one right here is a zebra shark. You'll notice that it has a lot of stripes on its side along with those dots. As it matures, it'll actually lose those stripes and it'll become more polka dotted in appearance. So some people call them leopard sharks, some people call them zebra sharks, but she will eventually get much, much larger. They can actually get anywhere from 8 to 11 feet when they're full grown. Now, in addition to our zebra, we have a few other species in here. We have 2 species of bamboo sharks. We have some epaulet sharks and a coral cat shark. Let's see if we can find them for you guys. All right, so this is our brown banded bamboo shark right down here. There you go. She won't get much bigger than she is now. And we also have our epaulet shark right next to her. And our coral cat shark is pretty small, so we might not be able to get a good view of her this morning. She might just be sleeping. So like I was saying, the zebra shark will get a bit larger. It might get about 8 to 11 feet in length when it's full grown, but most of the sharks in here are pretty much full grown. They eat a variety of small fish and invertebrates, so shrimp, superba krill, little clams, and little crabs will actually kind of break it up for them because sometimes it's a little bit too large for these guys. But they get a good variety of seafood. They get fed at least once a day. Occasionally they'll get more, but once a day is about average for the ones in here, while our larger sharks will get fed about 3 times a week. The substrate in here is just sand. There's a variety of different types of sand we have throughout the aquarium. If you look at our exhibits, you might notice that some is a little bit finer, others kind of crushed coral, but it's just different varieties of reef sand. So the other fish that you see in here are found in the Caribbean. This little guy with the stripes is a sergeant major. Then the ones that have the yellowish fins, those are going to be porkfish. And then this really pretty one down here with the blue spots on its back, if you guys actually hit it just right with the camera, you'll see those are called jewel damselfish. We actually added all of these yesterday. So if you guys have been to the aquarium recently, you might have noticed that we've added a lot more graphics to our walls. We'll go ahead and look at this big one over here. It's pretty neat. You can actually compare your size to a whale shark, a great hammerhead. We've got our sand tigers and nurse sharks. You can see that scuba diver silhouette on the wall. So it's just a really, really cool way to get an idea about how large some of these animals truly get. See a little bamboo shark all the way down there in the black tips, and then it just goes down the wall as they get bigger and bigger. And then over here we have a quick little graphic on shark anatomy. There are over 500 species of sharks. At OdySea we have 13 right now, so the 5 that you guys just saw in the cylindrical exhibit, along with 5 in our big shark exhibit, and we have 3 more in our deep ocean exhibit on the other side of the aquarium. This is just a quick breakdown of shark's anatomy. You can see here's its primary dorsal fin, like we were talking about earlier, that helps you kind of ID some of the animals in our larger exhibit. With their skin, they actually have what's called dermal denticles. They're very similar anatomically to teeth, and they provide not only protection, but they reduce drag when these animals are swimming. So there's a lot of really cool research going into that. In addition, we have the teeth up there. They're constantly replacing their teeth. If you were to dive our exhibit and look in the substrate, you'd actually find teeth almost all the time. A lemon shark will go through a row of teeth about every 9 to 10 days. So every time our divers are in the exhibit, they're actually pulling out handfuls of teeth. It's pretty cool. Let's see, what else do we have here? Caudal fin, which allows them, propels them forward, has a tremendous amount of power behind that. And I think that covers that. So let's go back and look at our big sharks.
We have a few questions.
Oh yeah, let's see.
Yeah. Ron Nishinsky has a question. What is your favorite shark at OdySea Aquarium, Johnny?
Oh, my favorite shark. Okay, I love our lemons. They're very personable. They are our biggest animals, and They're just very, very interesting animals to work with. They pick up conditioning behaviors very quickly. It took them only about 2 days to learn to target, so they are by far my favorite animal.
We have another question from Arthur, sorry if I get this wrong, Wyanio. How fast does a great white really swim? Because I think it's much faster than Michael Phelps, the Michael Phelps show.
Yes, good question. Okay, so I don't know the exact answer to that. I know that makos have been clocked at about 20 miles per hour, but that's just in short bursts. So they aren't actually swimming at that speed continuously because they can't maintain it. With a great white shark, I'd assume that it'd be very similar because they would have to catch a sea lion, but they rely a lot on, I guess, surprise as well. So they normally come up underneath the animal and get it that way.
Alyssa Daly writes, how often do you feed the sharks?
Good question. So the sharks behind us get fed 3 times a week. The little sharks you guys just saw, get fed 1 to 2 times a day, and then our other sharks in the other exhibit get fed twice a day. There's a few things that you need to look at when you're deciding, the feeding frequency for these animals. 1, their age, 2, their body weight, the species, the temperature of the exhibit they're being maintained in, and then along with a few other variables. But that kind of gives you an idea of how we look at and calculate some of their diets.
Christina Harris asks, do you have any ninja fish with the long tail?
We don't, and I wonder if she's talking about a thresher shark maybe. So there is a shark that has a very, very long tail, and they actually use it to stun their prey, which is fish. Definitely look that up. It's very, very interesting.
Can you tell us more about the ampullae of Lorenzini?
Yeah, so the ampullae of Lorenzini are basically, very simplistically stated, kind of gel-filled pouches or packets located all around the animal's body. You'll see them a lot of times around the face, and they pick up very, very weak electrical signals that are given off by all living organisms. Now, a shark can't really detect these until they're about 100 centimeters away from these animals, so it really is kind of that last sense they use to really hone in on their prey before they take it.
All right, we have time for one last question.
Yes.
Do you ever swim in there with the sharks, and if so, is it scary?
Yes, so we do dive in this exhibit a minimum of 3 times a week. We always have a dive buddy with us. I wouldn't say that anyone is necessarily scared, but we are very cautious of our surroundings. For the most part, the sharks normally mind their own business, swim just as they're doing now, and they really want nothing to do with you. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to stay in touch with us on Facebook and all of our other social media platforms.